For those of you who are watching online, who are watching the stream, welcome to Product Coffee. This is our almost weekly meetup of product professionals and product influencers from around the world. We're based here in Atlanta, Georgia, but we really have a Product Coffee subscriber base that spans the world, everywhere from Australia and Africa to Eastern Europe, South America, Canada, and as far east as the Philippines and Japan. So I want to welcome everybody who's joined us this morning. We've got a great session for you. It's been a couple of weeks since we got together. We took kind of a slow month in September, but we're back for October. We got a lot of things coming up. My name's Jason Brett. I'm your host some of the time, and we're going to jump in for the next few minutes. In the next few minutes, we're going to start our session, but before we do that, I want to thank our sponsors. We've got 3 sponsors that make Product Coffee really happen by supporting our activities, helping us get the word out, and helping us with the technology and the resources that we need to be successful and put this together for you. And I want to thank those 3 companies. One is Method, who you've heard a couple of people here who work for Method, which is a digital software design and strategy and development engineering agency. Part of the Global Logic organization, the larger Global Logic company. So we really like a boutique software strategy agency with the ability to scale to enterprise levels. And we serve worldwide with offices in Atlanta, Charlotte, Denver, New York, and London, plus a whole bunch of people spread out across the world. I also want to thank Pragmatic Institute, formerly known as Pragmatic Marketing, who's really the leading trainer of product management professionals in the world, has really created the concept of product management training for the masses. And they've been sponsoring Product Camp and Product Coffee since the very beginning. If you're considering some professional training in this space, please reach out and check into Pragmatic Institute. I've taken some of their training. It's fantastic quality training. I even took one of their basic courses after almost 20 years in product management, and still found it to be a really valuable use of my time connecting with other product managers, as well as refreshing myself on some concepts and taking some new perspectives on some product management concepts and some product strategy concepts that I've taken for granted for a large part of my career, and gaining some new perspective on it. I highly recommend their training. And they don't pay me to say that. They just pay me to say they sponsor. So I'm just letting you know that it's a great organization. And finally, I want to thank Feature Upvote, who provides some software for product people to collect voice of the customer feedback from your customers in the form of an ideas form. We have one for Product Coffee as well. If there's a topic that you'd like to hear us talk about at Product Coffee, you can go to www.productcoffee.com/ideas. And you will see from that, you will get a list of ideas that other people have suggested for topics for us to have a session on. And you can add your own suggestions, and we'll vote on those. And just like Product Camp, we'll look at the ones that rise to the top, and we will get those on the schedule. You'll see that a lot of the sessions that have been suggested in the past, we've executed on. They're out there on our YouTube channel. Some of them we've executed on, but need constant refreshing, so we kind of keep those top on the list to watch how people continue to interact with them. But head over to productcoffee.com/ideas, vote on some ideas, add some suggestions of your own, and check out featureupvote.com for your own product portfolio. The session for today is really kind of has come from a lot of questions that I've been hearing about people, and some experiences that I've actually come across in my professional career as well. And grasping the notion of product vision can be a little bit challenging. We tend to get it confused with a lot of other similar type of concepts, or a lot of emerging product leaders get the concept of product vision confused with other concepts like a mission, or a company vision, or product strategy, or even a release plan. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. The value of good product vision, how it can help align, and so on, to move us into a place of alignment throughout our organization and focus on the most important things. And the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to have a little bit of fun and I want to, I'm going to start off, I'm going to roll out some quotes here, and I guarantee you, all of you have seen at least two of these quotes. Many of you have probably seen one of them, and even if you haven't seen it, it's going to resonate with you. And there's a reason for them. I'm going to tie it all back together, and I will apologize in advance for the cliches, but they are important. And anyone who's ever given a presenting course will tell you, don't ever apologize at the beginning of your presentation. Believe me, you're going to want this apology for a few minutes. So first of all, let's start off with this one. A lot of times people don't know what they want until you show it to them. Steve Jobs is famous for saying this. It gets applied in a lot of different ways, and it gets misused in a lot of different ways as well, but I still wanted to kind of roll it out there. And another one that is there, it's actually debatable as to whether he actually said this. It's a little bit controversial, but it's still attributed to Henry Ford. If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. And the third one that you may not have actually heard or seen written down before, but I think everyone here will immediately resonate with is from Elon Musk, who just simply asked, am I insane? Now, he did that in the context of a book, and I'll put a link to the book out there. It was an authorized biography, and I can't even remember the full title. It's a really long title, but I was really looking at his vision for the future and exploring how he got to where he got. And it's a fascinating read, by the way. He may or may not be insane. I'm not going to weigh in on that. But now, to tie it back together, the thing that I want to bring together is there's something that these three have in common. And that is they are noted and well respected as some of industry and even technology's greatest innovators. They're men of vision. And that's a powerful statement because you can think about the things that they accomplished in their lifetimes, and you can start to understand. You can very easily see and understand how having a vision of what the future ought to look like has a massive impact. But what we haven't shared, what I didn't quote for you, was product vision. We're just talking about some of their perspectives, some of their concepts, some of the things that they've been noted for saying that are indicative of the kind of vision that they have. But product vision is something very different. It's part of a hierarchy. There is a company vision, and a company vision is really important. And there is a product vision that sits beneath that company vision. And then there's a product strategy that sits even beneath that. And and so as we go through the next few minutes, what we're going to do is we're going to dissect a few questions that one goes through to really define the product vision. And the reason this is important is last cliche probably of the day is having a clear product vision, having a well-defined product vision serves as a North Star, not only for you, but for your entire team, for your entire development organization, for your entire creative organization, for your C-suite, for your marketing organization, for your services organization. Another quote from Steve Jobs that is really important is he said, the essence of product strategy is choosing the things that you say no to. And with a clear vision, for your product, it becomes much easier to know what you should say yes to, and more importantly, what you should say no to. And as we dig into this, we're going to dissect some product vision statements and some product vision concepts, and we're going to apply 5 different product vision questions to that idea. Okay? So, and I'm going to put them all up here on the screen all at once. I'm not going to make you guess what the next question is going to be, but I am going to kind of walk through these one at a time. And towards the end of the session, we're going to get together. We're going to apply these to our own products in some smaller groups and to our own thinking in some smaller groups. So the first is, who will the product serve? And we talk about in a lot of contexts. We've done a lot of research conversations here at Product Coffee. We've had a good series on doing customer research as well as market research. And one of the keys to establishing a product vision that you can rally your entire organization around is first knowing exactly who the product will serve. And that's, by the way, that's not only who it will serve, but it's also knowing who it won't serve. Who the product won't serve is just as important as who the product will serve. Who is my target audience? The more precise we can be, the better. And once again, this is something that I'm not trying to sound preachy. We hear this all the time. However, I would challenge, based on the conversations that I have had, I know that there are probably 70 to 80% of the product teams out there. The entire team cannot clearly communicate who they're building product for. It's everybody, or anybody with the bow tie, or that's actually a little bit better. But we tend to think in broad swaths, but we need to know exactly who we're building for in the first place, who we're creating for in the first place. More importantly, what pain does it relieve? Not just what need are we filling. But a product vision is about creating an end to pain, is bringing an end to a pain. So something that is extremely challenging or troubling to that individual, that consumer, that customer, that business, that partner that it's going to serve, even if that's an internal customer. And this, the third, is where we really kind of get to the essence of what product vision is. The essence of a product vision is describing not what the product is going to look like precisely when it's done, but how the world is going to change, how the world is going to be different when that product is complete, when it's reached maturity, when you've gotten to a state that can say, we've delivered on our vision. How has the world changed? What will our customer's life be like? How will it be different? It also involves knowing why that customer, why that user, why that buyer is going to choose your product over someone else's. And I've got a really good example we're going to dig into in just a moment as well. Bushan is asking, will all of these questions still apply if the product is an internal product where the customers are internal systems or applications? I'd have to think a little bit more about the internal systems or applications. I would suggest, and we might want to talk about this in just a moment, but I would suggest that an internal system is never really the customer. It might be a developer, it might be a stakeholder that is leveraging that internal system. So if I think, for example, if I'm standing up an instance of Oracle, is Oracle the customer, or is the front-end application the customer, or is the front-end developer the customer? That's one way to consider it. But let's come back around on that. And Joey asked, how many times do we get driven to make a product around a C-suite versus the actual users? I got a lot of opinions on that one, but it's an important question. And that's why this first question, who will the product serve, is so key to product vision. It's very easy for any of us, and I'm guilty of it myself. As we learn our customers and their needs in our market and their needs more and more completely, and become an expert on that market or on that customer base, it's very easy to assume that we have all the answers and start thinking of ourselves as the customer. It's even harder when I, Jason, really am a customer of a product that I'm using. I led product at a marketing technology company for a very long time, and I was also a user of that product. And it's very easy to apply my own needs and perspective and thoughts to my usage experience and priorities when I'm really only one voice. It's a discipline that every good product person has to develop within themselves. It's been said that the product manager is the conscience of the company as well. And this is one of those areas that the product manager really gets the opportunity to shine through as that conscience and help their leadership, help their stakeholders keep focused on the customer that we're actually here to serve. The fourth question that goes to establishing product vision that you need to be able to answer clearly, and that everyone in your organization needs to be able to answer clearly and consistently, is why will our customer choose us over someone else? And like I say, I've got a really meaty example that we're going to go into in just a minute that'll give you a real dissection of this. And the last one to keep in mind is, when will it be real? What's the horizon for our product vision? Is it within the next 3 to 5 years? Is it 15 years? And I'm going to show you a couple of different examples there as well, where the vision was literally someday in the future, and we don't know when that day will be, but this is the direction that we're going. And then there are other visions that are within 5 years. Now, I would say that the time horizon for a product vision generally is not going to be less than 3 to 5 years. And if it's less than 3 to 5 years, then either you've already kind of reached a level of maturity and it's time to start focusing elsewhere, or you are really focusing too close in on the feature set, on the release set, and you're confusing a product vision with a release plan. So, and we're going to come back to that in a few minutes as well. Okay, so let's put these to use. And I'm going to start off, we're going to go back to Mr. Musk. And boy, howdy. He's got a lot of products that we could examine. And there is, love this guy or hate him, doesn't matter. You cannot deny that this is an individual. Elon Musk is an individual that has a massive, has disruptive, has incredible product vision and for the things that he wants to accomplish and that he wants to put out there in the marketplace and that he wants to create. Everybody always talks about Tesla and SpaceX. I'm going to talk about a product vision that isn't going so well for Musk right now. We're going to talk about what was at one time Solar City and has now been rolled into Tesla. But the idea, the product in question here is a solar roof, is solar roof tiles. And the vision statement, not to be confused with vision itself, and we're going to get a little bit more into that as well, is a beautiful roof that generates power for everyone. So contemplate that for a moment. First of all, kind of by show of hands, just use your hands in the Zoom chat there. Are you familiar with the Tesla Solar Tiles Initiative, the Solar Shingle Tiles Initiative? Raise your hand if this is something you've heard of before. Okay, good. So a lot of you are familiar with that. A lot of hands going up. That's fantastic. So and it's a pretty powerful future that they're trying to create. I want them to, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I had to replace my roof earlier this year, and I had to look into it again, and it's not quite ready there. Now, so let's apply those 5 questions to the solar shingles, to the solar shingle tiles product kind of concept. Okay, first of all, let's talk about who the product will serve. Now, in this statement, he didn't specifically call out a targeted market. He says for everyone, but it's actually not everyone. His target audience is people who own a building. So if I rent, I'm not in his target audience. If I'm And there are also some areas where if I live in the deep jungle or if I live in the jungle, I'm not in your target audience, but there is a target audience. This is going to serve people who own buildings. It's focused primarily on residential real estate in this statement. So he's really looking at residential homeowners primarily. Although we also know that they have a strategy for commercial buildings and multi-tenant dwellings as well. But the real focus is on the residential homeowner. And the reason for that focus on the residential homeowner is part of Musk's larger vision that is not product vision. And this is where we're kind of taking the comparison. One of the key elements of Elon Musk's vision for the world is to move us from being a hydrocarbon consuming culture and race to a solar energy consuming race. And the home is one of the biggest opportunities that he has said that he sees for humans to create net positive power generation. So by placing affordable solar roofs on every home, we can generate more power than we consume and move away from hydrocarbon-based power. I think, and that's a pretty powerful connection from a strategic vision for the company to the strategic vision for a product. Now let's talk about the pain that it relieves. How many of you have seen or heard of, or have seen a solar farm or seen solar panels on an existing roof in a residential neighborhood? A lot of you have seen those, right? What do you think about those? Speak up. How do they look? Somebody come off mute and Greg, come off mute and tell me how they look.
I don't know, Jason. I'm a fan, so when I see it, I'm not completely offended by it. But I think from what I understand from Musk's vision is he wants them more as shingles, not the panels. So the 1970s style panels are much uglier than the more modern shingles.
Yeah. Have you seen a solar farm?
I did. I saw one. I saw one on the way. We were down to Florida. I forget which area it was in because I looked over. I was like, "What the heck is that?" It takes up a ton of space. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was like, wait a minute. But yeah, it was a solar farm.
Yep, and you can generate a ton of power by cutting down a whole bunch of trees, clearing an area, opening up a line of sight so that you can get a lot of sunlight on these big reflective panels or these big absorbent panels that stick out, disrupt the landscape, but they generate a lot of sustainable power, a permanent source of power. The vision here, though, is let's make power creation actually beautiful, not just cool, but let's make it invisible. Let's let people forget that it's even there, but let's create a net positive power creation in a beautiful kind of way. How will the world change when it's complete? That's pretty clear. If we can put a beautiful solar roof on every home, then we will generate more energy from the sun's power than we consume, and that'll take us away from the need for hydrocarbon-based fuels, which will be obviously, good for the environment.
But they're not going to do it.
What's that?
They're not going to do it. They're not going to put one in every home, just like we don't have data in every home.
I hear you, Reggie. I hear you, Reggie, but that is not the point of product vision. The point of product vision is to set your guiding star and to point the ship in the direction of where you need to go, and then break down the barriers to getting there on the way. It's absolutely true. This product vision was announced in 2016. Earlier this year on the Q1 investor call for Tesla, Musk said, you know what? We've made a lot of mistakes. We're not there yet. We have discovered along the way that installing these solar shingles are much heavier than traditional shingles, and a lot of roofs can't support them as they're currently constructed. We didn't take that into account. We are way behind schedule. We're having to refund people's money left and right because they're finding out when we come to install the shingle, the solar tiles are 2 to 3 times more expensive to install than we quoted them up front. We're having to refund their money and take it back. It is still an effective product vision because it has set the mission that the development teams are going after. It set the context of who we're going to serve, the pain we're going to relieve, and how the world is going to change when it's complete. It's also set the context of why they're going to choose us over someone else. I talked about just a moment ago about the look of existing solar solutions. And I think it was Jerry said, yeah, I think they're kind of cool. I'm a fan of solar power. So when I see solar panels on a house, I think, yeah, that's awesome. When I see a solar farm, I think, look, oh, great, we're generating some clean electricity. But I also, personally, I think, but man, I sure do miss those trees. I sure do wonder what happened to the wildlife that lived in that in that property right there. I want to say we've also got, let's see here, and so why will they choose us over someone else? Well, the vision that has been communicated is that the consumer will choose the Solar City or the Tesla solar roof simply because it's beautiful. And I saw someone else point out cost is an issue for me. And that is absolutely true as well. Part of the vision for the solar roof from Tesla is to make the net cost zero. You should be able to generate enough power and save on electricity at such a level that your cost of your roof is no different from the cost of a traditional roof. So I say net zero. It's not that it's free, but it's no different than the cost of a regular roof. And they plan to finance it over the long term so that your immediately realized energy savings are what actually pay for the roof, and you're still returning power back to the grid, which is a pretty powerful piece of that vision, and why people would be able to choose this roof over a traditional solar panel roof. And finally, when will it be real? This was a 5-year vision that was set out, 4 to 5 years. This is coming now. This is coming very soon, but we have a lot of work to do that. So the reason I call this one out is, as I've said, your vision needs to be far enough out in the future to really represent a big objective that's challenging to get to. And in the space of creating a technology like this, 3 to 5 years is actually pretty short. We've been working on solar for a very long time, but Musk was convinced that the tectonic shift in what could be created in the next 3 to 5 years was so massive that it still represented a compelling product vision to rally everyone around to. It's not a release. It's not so close as to say our vision is to get this out next year. It was, this is what the world is going to be like when we can put a beautiful solar roof on every home and return and create more power than we consume.
I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
And it makes me think, when will it be real? And we experienced that a couple of months ago when we finally saw a product come together. It's almost like it just went poof and came together. You work and work and work and work on what you're trying to build, and you never pull your head up. And when you come up for air, we realized, hey, our product is complete. And then you realize how much more work you got to do.
It's true. So let's move on to another example. Let's go to the car. And part of the reason that I didn't want to choose the Tesla automobile is because I really wanted to talk more about the Ford and the Model A Ford specifically. Not the Model T. Now, the Model T was really important, and it was the most popular car at the time. And the vision that went into the Model T was just as much about the employees as it was about the product itself. So much of the vision that went into the Model T was really around sustainably creating an automobile at scale, an affordable automobile at scale, built by skilled workers who were paid a fair wage and only worked 40 hours a week. A lot of people don't realize that Henry Ford was the creator of the 40-hour work week. Prior to that, people literally worked from morning to night. And one of his innovations in the creation of the assembly lines that his company created was building a system where someone could make a living and a company could pay them affordably to make a living at only 40 hours a week of work. But that wasn't the product vision that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the product vision for the Ford Model A. And that was to create a better, cheaper motor car for the great multitude. And on the surface, that better and cheaper, first of all, it doesn't talk about the how. It talks about the what. So that's a really important characteristic, but there are a couple of other details that we're going to dig into that show some of the strengths and the weaknesses of this vision statement. Once again, a vision statement is not the vision itself. It is a piece of it. It's a representation of the vision. But let's look at the 5 questions that we talked about from a product vision perspective. Who will the product serve? Well, the great multitude. That's a pretty broad audience, but you can infer from the better and cheaper that the multitude is really talking about a segment of the population that didn't have access to an automobile at this point. It was out of reach to the great multitude. It was the tool of the wealthy, of the well-to-do. It was something that separated the rich from the everyman. And so creating a car for the great multitude meant creating a car that was accessible to people who it wasn't currently accessible for. Let's make it better than what exists today, and let's make it cheaper than what exists today. And this was the vision. Now, one of the things that historians will tell you, and even the Ford company will tell you as well, is Ford missed something here in the vision. The people who were interested in cars at the time weren't actually looking for better and cheaper. There was some interest from the great multitude, but the people who were ready to buy cars at this point were really interested in a higher quality driving experience and a higher quality car and moving into more things that we would consider today luxury, better, more comfortable seats, more comfortable ride. And Chrysler started to creep ahead of Ford at this time. That being said, still doesn't make it invaluable. It doesn't make it a valueless statement, a valueless vision. The Model A did come out. It was never the success of the Model T because it was the market itself, the buying market itself was not validated at the level that it needed to be. And that's going to be a characteristic that we're going to come back and talk about with good product vision. What pain does it relieve? Well, that is clear as we look at what he said. It's better and it's cheaper. There was an assumption that the pain was that cars are too expensive for the people who want them. And while that was true, it wasn't true for the great multitude that he was seeking to serve. But how will the world change when it's complete? Well, everyone who wants a car will be able to afford a car, will be able to have a car, will be able to move from place to place without the need for livestock to get them there. When will they choose us over? Why will they choose us over someone else? That was an important factor of the Model A's design and engineering that was really empowering, and that was the better. We are trying to create a car that has superior engineering, a better vehicle for the great multitude while still being cheaper. So they're going to choose us, we believe, because the car is better and cheaper. That is why, once again, we pivot back to where the vision was wrong and that did not drive the sales that it was intended to drive. At this time, you may have heard of the Ford Edsel, which was intended to be more of a luxury car, and it was named after Ford's son, who he had made president of Ford Motor Company, even while he sat in the director's chair and called all the shots. The Edsel was never really a big success because it didn't get the right level of support and didn't get the right go-to-market, and there was kind of pushback from Henry on that as well. It just never really did make it. But however, Edsel, his son, really was looking and focusing and saying, people really want luxury cars now. They want a higher quality vehicle. They want a higher end vehicle. And that's where we need to focus our energy. And by the time they got that, by the time they got that out, it was really kind of too late, and Ford had kind of really slipped from the leadership position. But when will it be real? There is no statement of when it will be real in this specific statement, but we do know that this was an engineering feat that started as soon as the Model T became successful, and it took 3, 4, 5 years to get the Model A to market after that. Got a couple of questions on here. And we're going to get into, there's a question is, will this recording be available once the call is over? Yes, we will. There's also a question about getting into tools and techniques for creating a product vision. And the case studies here are kind of intended to get us there with these questions and the step-by-step. I hear that question. I think we'll circle back and maybe we'll want to go to a little bit more depth on that topic as well if this doesn't answer the question for you by the time we get wrapped up here. Let's do one more, and then we're going to shift gears and work on our own visions a little bit in some groups. So let's go to Steve. And Steve wanted to create a computer for the rest of us. And this is one that was really a vision that was expressed back in the early 80s, before the Macintosh was even released. When the Macintosh was just didn't even have a name. The Lisa was what he was working on. But let's talk about the who it's going to serve. The vision was for a computer for the rest of us. The rest of us being non-technical users. Computers at that point were limited to those who understood command line, understood DOS, understood how to program, how to work punch cards. They were these mysterious devices. The vision was to create a product for those with a non-technical background that anyone could use. What pain does it relieve? Jobs was always a fan of beautiful design and simplicity. The pain was by being for the rest of us, it was something that we would enjoy using, that would be simple to use, that would be easy to use, and approachable for the masses. How will the world change when it's complete? In another part of the vision that he had, he talked about the office of the future where every desk would have a computer. And there would be no need for secretaries taking dictation. People would be able to do their own work faster and more effectively. And furthermore, there would be, he also expressed a vision for a computer that fit in a book. Why will they choose us over someone else? This has been the hallmark of Apple Computer and Apple Incorporated for so many years. It's been the subject of so many case studies. But the simplicity of design and the beauty of industrial design has always been the focus. Even from the first Mac in 1984, it was breaking down barriers by being a simple, approachable, and at that time, a beautiful machine that people could really embrace and fall in love with. And when will it be real? In this case, there was no timeline on it. This was, we are here to create a computer for the rest of us, no matter how long it takes. And we're going to take steps to getting there. And that's one of the powerful parts of this vision is we didn't say there's a day and time that we have to complete it. This is the direction that we're going. That goes back to the Tesla roof vision. While they had a day and time or a rough time frame that they wanted to deliver that in, they still, more importantly, had a direction and a vision. When the product is done, this is what it will do. And we'll get there when we get there. So let's switch gears now and let's do and I want to kind of sum it up. And this goes back to a question that was asked in the chat a moment ago. So there isn't a simple formula for creating a product vision. There are a few approaches that people take, and I've got on the resources page, I've got a couple of resources for you that'll help you get there. One of them is Jeffrey Moore's Crossing the Chasm. There's a template for creating a vision statement, and it's a tool that people use. In Crossing the Chasm, what Moore is actually talking about is creating a positioning statement. And there's a very specific format. And it's basically, you talk about who your audience is, who your target audience is, what you're creating, why it's important, and how it's differentiated from the market. Marty Kagan has a really great treatise with a bunch of examples of great product vision. And you'll find that as you start to dig into these, a simple statement doesn't sum up a product vision. It's really about answering all of these questions that I just shared with you in their completeness. This is done, this at minimum, defining and documenting a product vision is going to take a couple of days, but that's only when it's backed by weeks and months of research and building a deep customer understanding. I've also included Roman Pilcher on product vision. He is a product management consultant who's been around the product social community for a very long time and has published a product vision canvas. I've included a link to that gives you a tool for actually building out a framework around your product vision and 8 principles for your product vision. And I've also included a video of the SpaceX vision. And this is really powerful because it creates it gives you a fullness of what a product vision actually is, because it talks about it talks about who's involved, who it's for, but it really paints a picture of what the world and experience are going to be like when the product is complete without focusing on the product itself. It doesn't focus on the rocket itself. It focuses on where the rocket gets you. So there are paths to follow, and those paths are really summed up in the 5 questions, but I do want to kind of speak to some characteristics of what good product vision is and dig in on those a little bit. So first, it's a view into the future. So many times I hear people refer to a product vision and they're really talking about the features that are going to be complete when it's done, and it's not. A product vision is the essence of how your product will change the world as it matures. What's it going to be like for those who hold your product in their hand or put your product to use? What's the value that it creates for your customers, for your users, for your market? And more importantly, it has to be recorded, written down, so that it can be discussed and dissected and owned by everyone in the organization. That's how it becomes that guiding star that we talked about. The cliche is that it's a guiding star. But a product vision, one of the approaches that I love around crafting and documenting product vision it comes from Amazon, which is one of the big proponents of doing the press release, the proactive press release. You create a press release before a product ever starts development. And you present that press release or that narrative about what the world is going to be like, how the market's going to respond, the problem's going to solve, what the user's experience is going to be like when the product is released. And if you can't paint that vision in the form of a press release, then you're not going to get the go-ahead at Amazon to move forward with a product. Let's talk about what it's not. And we kind of went through on those examples and those case studies as well. And this is something that's important to keep in mind. The product vision is not your secret sauce. Your product vision isn't a big corporate secret. Your product secret is something, your product vision is something that your customers, your competitors, your colleagues, your constituents, everyone should be able to understand your product vision from your public statements. You're painting a picture for why we're doing what we're doing. Now, you may be in startup mode and in stealth mode and still defining your business model, and that's okay. But when you have a product vision and you're seeking funding from from venture capitalists, or from angel investors. That product vision is something that those investors need to be able to understand. And you need to have customers, reference customers, that understand that vision and have validated that vision. It's not a pithy marketing slogan like the couple of quotes that I showed you. It's all the meat underneath that answers those 5 questions that we talked about, that gets us to the answer to those 5 questions. It's not a list of features and priorities and releases. And most importantly, it's not created in a vacuum and held in an ivory tower. The product vision is not something that is owned and kept close to the vest by the CEO or by the product manager. It is something that the entire organization owns and serves to make a reality. And a product vision is not constrained by what is possible today. That's really important as well. A product vision imagines what the product needs to do regardless of what's possible today. The product team, the product strategy makes it possible. The solar roof is a great example. The product vision expressed something that is not possible today. And they keep finding reasons why it's really, really hard to do. But they keep driving forward towards delivering that solar roof and putting a beautiful solar roof on every home. So we did go a little bit deeper, take a little bit longer getting through the material than I really intended to, but I still want to go back and I want to go back to our 5 questions, and I want to break us up for the rest of our time here, for those who are still here, into a couple of or maybe 3 working groups. And this is an opportunity to work together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you into some groups together, into some breakout groups together, and I want you to share the product that you're working on and do some self-analysis. Just rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 means we're nailing this, we really understand it, and 1 means we're not there yet. We need to learn more, and our team is not aligned on this yet. And for those of you watching the live stream, we're going to break away now and shut down the live stream. We'll circle back here locally. If you want to join us in person next time, go to productcoffee.com/tickets. Watch there. Go to productcoffee.com/newsletter. Sign up for our newsletter, and we'll hope to see you here on the Zoom call in the future. So take care.